Hey, this is Chip from The Real Dirt. I'm back. That's right. I just got back from heli skiing up in BC, up at a place called Silvertip in the Caribou in eastern BC. And I'm actually a snowboarder myself. First time heli boarding. Went with a bunch of my friends, my buddy Hollis Carter. It was his birthday. Well, several people's birthdays, actually. And about 14 of us, all entrepreneurs, all business people, went on this incredible trip in the best week of February to Silvertip Lodge. Silvertip Lodge, BC. If you've ever thought about going snowboarding, heli boarding, heli skiing, these guys got it, man. The lodge was incredible. It was just like being in your like rich uncle's house, right? It wasn't too like over the top. It was very homey. The staff was really incredible. They were, so nice. And Canadians are always really nice people, but these guys were really nice. They catered to my vegetarian, pescatarian lifestyle, made fun of me in a little bit of cool manner, but man, fed me awesome, took care of us. The heli operators there, Cold Creek, I believe they're called. Man, world class heli pilot. This guy, man, he got us into some of the craziest spots. I mean, I could just hear this, the ride of the Valkyries in the background almost every moment. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, it really felt apocalypse now, except it was just a beautiful environment in the snow and nobody was shooting at us. We were actually, fixing to shoot the mountain, so to speak. And man, just incredible time. And I'll tell you, I was the old guy on the trip. Right. I'm 46. Yep. I've been around a small amount of time. I was the old guy on the trip, but I still got it. Right. I was solidly able to last half as long as everybody else. But it was a great time, man. And I think out of 4 days, I got 28 drops in 4 days. And the other people in our group got 38, 45 drops. It was incredible. Definitely go check it out. Check out our Instagram site and you'll see some of the photos this week. Check out Silvertip Lodge. But man, here's the cool thing about it is I was at this place and I had 3 of my great friends who were also in the hemp industry. So after one day of boarding, we sat in the bar of the lodge. And a real small lodge. It was just 14 of us. I think that was probably capacity. We sat in the lodge. We had a couple drinks and we just talked about hemp. I was fortunate enough to have Graham Carlson from Charlotte's Web. He's done all kinds of high-level positions for them. And we talk about what's just kind of happened with Charlotte's Web and what's going on with the publicly traded markets in Canada. We talked to Mike Leago, a guest I've had on several times. He's going to be on several more hemp episodes. We hang out, it seems like, a lot. And he was also on this trip. He showed up kind of last minute. And then my buddy Hollis Carter, who was kind of the mastermind of this whole thing. And Hollis, he's involved with, smokable hemp. Right. And, has been developing a brand, and packaging and really high quality, smokable hemp cigarettes, hemp smokes. And they don't really like that term cigarettes, but great conversation. We talk about what's going on in Canada. We talk about hemp all over the world. We talk about the opportunities. Man, this really genuinely such a good Hempisode that I'm stoked that I was able to record this. So yes, sit back, man. If you want to feel what we were feeling, you can maybe put a YouTube snowboard video on, because let me tell you, it was just like that. Landing on the knife edge of the mountain, hopping out the side, dropping down. It was incredible. Or rolling down, as the case may be. Yeah, sit back, turn it on mute, fire one up. Maybe you got some hemp, fire some hemp up. That's right. Hemp's good for smoking too. It's cannabinoids, terpenes. And enjoy this episode. Enjoy this Hempisode of The Real Dirt. Welcome once again to The Real Dirt. On today's Dirt, we're in fabulous British Columbia at the Silvertip Ski Lodge, Heli Lodge, and I'm with two of my great friends and hemp aficionados. That's right, Mike and Grant. I'm glad I got you guys cornered here. I've been wanting to chat with both you guys in the Real Dirt studio, but since we're on a little vacay here together, we can talk about ganja and hemp and Canada and heli skiing and any kind of thing we want for 24 minutes, and that's it.
All right, let's do it. Count me in.
So we got here to BC on last Thursday or Wednesday. I immediately went to the ganja store, a really nice Apple ganja store, like an Apple store. Did you go with me?
No.
No, you guys weren't with me, right? It was a great place, man. You walked in. It was called City Cannabis. You walked in. They had a guy there who was got an iPad. Hit the bud tender, talked to you about all the cannabis. They were really informed.
Were they behind a counter?
They were no counter. No counter. It was just like an iStore. So they had samples of the ganja going around the room, and then a large table in the middle of the room.
Wait, real quick. Did you just call the Apple Store the iStore?
Yeah, totally.
It works.
But, it works. But, yeah, totally. And it's that's the electronic version. The Apple Store is the brick and mortar version.
There you go.
So you walk in, they had 1 gram of all the samples, right? And they had the biggest people. They had Canopy with cannabis there. They had the Aurora with their cannabis brands there. They had some micro cannabis brands as well.
So do they identify all their brands by the parent company?
All the brands are identified by the parent.
Right?
Yep, absolutely. And
Okay.
Aurora and Canopy have gone up and bought a bunch of independent brands. There was LA Confidential and Lemon Skunk, and
there's a few I hadn't seen before.
a few Canadian things I haven't seen
Galliano
before. Yeah, Galliano. And they were packaged in either 8s or grams. They were in plastic, child-proof containers that had a hermetically sealed top. It was all awful. I bought 8 different nuggets there, 8 different 8s, and everyone was absolutely awful. And I'm a critic and I'm a judge, and we smoked all this weed. It's not like we threw it away.
Pretty much out.
We're pretty much out. Like, so but with the millions of dollars that Canopy and Aurora have claimed to have spent on the development of technology, I think they probably developed some vacation homes. Right, and definitely develop some bank accounts.
Oh yeah.
Like, Mike, you saw quite a bit of this ganja. Could you like give me your opinion on it? What was wrong with it, really?
I'm used to ganja smelling nice and like cannabis. This stuff had a old smell to it, if you will.
Like old BC bud.
Old BC bud.
No, it was like outdoor from 2016.
Yeah, it was that old. Like I've gotten beasters that still smell good. They're beasters,
Maybe
but they smell good.
CBD,
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a way to sell it.
Sleep doesn't smell good.
It really is criminal and awful. I actually totally wanted to go get my money back,
But it was cheap, right?
No, fuck no, it wasn't cheap, dude. I think I paid $300 for an ounce, 8 8s.
Who are doing this? These larger corporations who are really trying to capture the market and drive into market share to be creating a quality product. I don't know why you'd even necessarily expect that, honestly.
Because people buy what's ever put in front of them.
Yeah.
And it's just like vegetables and avocados at the grocery store. Most people just pick up whatever is in front of them and buy it.
Especially when there's a temporary shortage and there's a market to be met. I mean, I'm not surprised. It's disappointing, but
it is totally disappointing.
When you told me that, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, it's not a shock.
No.
But they could do a better job.
They could do a better job. Now, both Graham and Mike are both in the hemp business here. And I know Aurora and Canopy are entering the hemp business. They've already entered the ganja business. But I'm just going to have some advice for you guys. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Aurora and Canopy, exactly what you're doing wrong and how you're fucking up. Number 1, you have to dry the weed to maybe 10 or 12% moisture rate. That makes it really dry. And then you seal it in a airproof container, and it'll hold that moisture level.
Sure.
Right? It'll hold that
Absolutely.
moisture level.
That's too expensive. I don't know if they don't have enough money for that.
Totally. And don't give me this bullshit about like, oh, we got 7 acres, we can't dry it right. Well, then just extract it. If you can't dry quality ganja, because some of it was great and some of it looked good even, right? And I know the DNA genetics, those are the cuttings. It's not like it's genetic drift or anything. You really need to do a better job. Now, I understand that you're going to be like, oh, the regulations of cannabis, Canada force us to do this. You can buy a 3-cent Mylar bag that will air seal your 1/8, and it'll make it better for somebody like me, and then put it in your child-proof container. You got any other suggestions for maybe some of the other cannabis growers in Canada or throughout the U.S. on how to make it more quality product?
You know, it just it reminds me of the early days and the existing days in the ganja industry where guys are coming in and they've got a little closet grow. Maybe they've got a spare bedroom or a garage. And then they say, I'm going to open a warehouse, or I'm going to do 100,000 square feet of canopy. And guess what? It doesn't work that easy to scale up.
Try doing that 50x.
Exactly. In Canopy, Aurora, Tilray, these companies are spending money like crazy to expand their reach, and it's hard to scale an operation. And it's truly the operations that are probably suffering right now as they try and build up infrastructure, square footage, staff, genetics.
I mean, is it really about the cannabis you're doing good anymore, though? I mean, that's the part that I just kind of zoom out from.
Oh, well, I'm a business person. I sell whatever. It's mostly in the cannabis space. It's mostly equipment. But, man, you got to have some pride in what you're doing. It can't just be about shoveling shit out the door.
And while you're doing it, not
it.
just to grab market share and roll up into something.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And never trust a spreadsheet. The spreadsheets lie.
But always have a spreadsheet at the same time.
True.
Totally, always have a spreadsheet. So if you've invested in Canopy or Aurora and you're a stockholder, I want you to complain. I want you to say, hey, I'm not quite sure if you spent all our money appropriately, because I'm hearing from Chip Baker, one of the authorities on cannabis and consumption of cannabis in the world. I'll take that title. I made it up for myself. Man, this shit's bad, and you need to step it up and make better product.
I'm curious what the plan is, because Canopy announced they're going to spend $170 million on an extraction facility out east, eastern U.S., and less than New York, and then less than a month later said it's going to be a $500 million on top of that investment. Let's see, Tilray this week.
Just bought Manitoba.
Yeah, just bought Manitoba to talk about, they want reach. They want reach into the CBD market in the U.S., but guess what? Manitoba doesn't have CBD products right now.
Well, I'm glad we transitioned this perfectly, because, the interesting thing about growing hemp for CBD is it's an extraction growing technique, right? It's not a smoking technique. Right, you don't harvest the weed the same. You don't grow the weed necessarily the same.
There's a subsection of the market that's for smokable hemp.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Still, though, people are mostly field growing, field drying, commercial drying, and I think now we're going to this season see a lot more distinction between the tops of the plants out in the field versus guys that were growing indoor, growing in greenhouses, putting out a boutique product that's really high quality, curing it right, harvesting it right, storing it right. So that'll be interesting.
Most of the CBD is grown for extraction, what's Mike saying, but there is a smokable CBD segment that is gathering now.
Less than 5% of CBD.
For sure.
Yeah, totally. Less than 5%. But it's more grown and more grown like ganja.
Well, in theory it is, but I think in practicality what a lot of these guys are doing is just trimming off the tops of their plants. That's what's hitting the market. There's a handful of growers in greenhouses and maybe some indoor that's there strictly for the boutique smokable market. But it's mostly people trying to take advantage of the market a little bit, get a little more for their flower, and who can blame them? But I don't think there's been a real push for consistent, high-quality smokable. I know it's never going to be the biggest part of the CBD market, but when you look at what's going on with tobacco and smoking addiction, it's going to be a good alternative for folks. And
is that doing well in Switzerland? I heard that Switzerland
kind of kicked it off.
Larger market for that.
Yeah, but they were able to mix it with tobacco because of the way their laws worked.
Well,
right?
That's laws and culture. I mean, they can smell or sell straight smokable flower without tobacco mixed in, but they've got CBD cigarettes mixed with tobacco in grocery stores over in Switzerland. We got hit up by that market a couple years ago, started servicing them with high-quality flower from the States, and we tried to bring that same product stateside and in Colorado, and nobody wanted it.
That's
now
a
it's the next hot
1%.
thing.
That's a 1% flower too, right? Isn't Switzerland's limit 1? Because they're not in the EU.
Yeah.
1% THC.
Yeah,
Correct.
Right.
Mostly 0.3 over there. You've got a couple that are 0.6, some 0.2.
I had mostly 0.2.
0.2, yeah. I think
Italy
I
was
misspoke there.
0.6
Yep.
rumored.
What's the
0.6 is like Italy, though. Austria, I think. Like some countries have a higher limit, but I think 0.2, you're right, is EU standard.
Well, now with the WHO coming out with their health recommendations for the UN body, that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. They still have to vote. It's probably not going to come into effect until 2020, March of 2020. They'll vote because it was delayed. But the fact that the WHO recommended that there should be no control or scheduling over CBD is pretty amazing.
What do you think that's going to mean in the future over there? And how is that going to spread?
Well, you've got
globally?
183 member nations, and so that's obviously there has to be a vote. It's going to be controversial. When I was there in Vienna this December, Russia was objecting to it. Several countries, China was objecting to it. But I think that influence, even if the vote goes down and it's not concrete or doesn't pass, I think the fact that the WHO came out with that and said, "Hey, we've done the science on this. There's no potential for addiction or abuse. This is a very beneficial compound, potentially." I think it could be very influential. Obviously, some nations are going to drag their feet or not agree with whatever comes down. But
Well, I mean, we're even having problems here in the U.S. with the 0.3 laws, and we just saw what happened in Oklahoma and in Idaho.
Man,
Right, with just like a 0.4, 0.5.
Oklahoma, apparently the company had talked to the state, gotten approval to transport this hemp through there, and state patrol, local patrol pulled them over, and that didn't
an issue.
Yeah, and that didn't get them very far. And I think the truck driver sat in jail for almost a month.
6 weeks even.
6 weeks.
Yeah, fucking nuts, man.
Yeah. Wait, that's got to be figured out. And right now there's states that are allowing, saying all that matters is Delta-9 THC, and other states that are saying total THC, and the kind of an
Oregon,
ambiguous
Minnesota,
farm bill. So, Graham, what do you think about the farm bill? Does that tell us if it's 0.3? I know they say recommend decarbing, but
I think it's stipulated on Delta-9.
it says Delta-9, but they recommend post-decarboxylation testing.
I mean, I honestly think that's kind of minutiae. It's going to take a while for the Farm Bill to come into effect, whether you're looking at how USDA is going to handle it, FCC with advertising. We all have all these smaller federal governmental agencies. They're going to take at least a year to get going. I mean, that's the speed of bureaucracy at that level. And Idaho is an interesting one, though, because they were like, we don't give a shit about the Farm Bill.
Exactly.
Like, we don't care. We're still going to prosecute against it.
And so, man, those guys got like 7,000 pounds. Are they being prosecuted for 7,000 pounds of ganja in Idaho?
That's what we're hearing. And apparently they did such a minimal job of packaging that stuff that they were smelling it 2 miles down the highway following this truck.
Oh, that was from Oregon, huh?
That was from Oregon.
That good stuff from Oregon.
Good stuff from Oregon.
I'm on the board of the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, and I know we've been looking into doing some friend of the court things where we're actually talking to different attorneys and explaining the federal legislation. We're not in a position where we can go in and necessarily support or fund a legal defense for everybody in the nation who encounters these issues, but I know we'll be actively involved there.
Well, we've seen the same thing happen in California, Oregon, and Washington in the ganja sector, where the law enforcement was against it, and they thought they had the power, and they thought they could just do whatever they wanted, and they busted people. They tried to put people out of business. They tried to scare people from going into business. They've come into the fold in some of those states.
Correct. And Graham, I got a question for you. I mean, states like Oregon right now that have been testing only Delta-9 THC have total THC numbers between 0.5 and 1%. How do you see that playing out moving forward? I mean, are they going to be able to transport that out of state? Do you think that there's a future where there's manifest and a system similar to metric where... Yeah, well, I know in a lot of ways, but at the same time, would you rather have to jump through those loopholes or see people stuck in jail for trying to do their job? Those truck drivers aren't in the cannabis space. They're not in the hemp scene. They're truck drivers, and they took the fall.
I would rather see it be just simply total THC and treating like any other USDA commodity.
Hey, could you explain what total THC means to my listeners here?
You have decarboxylation, so THC naturally comes with a carboxylic acid on it. When you heat it up, smoke it, or extract it, or pre-extraction, you end up taking that CO2 molecule off of it, and that's actually what allows it to pass the blood-brain barrier and become most efficacious for the body. So when you look at total THC, you would say some of this on the plant is naturally decarbing, and that'll be a certain percentage. But then you also have a portion that has that carboxylic acid on it. So I think the net carboxylic acid, THC, is what should be considered, and that's
how they do it in Colorado.
Did I say that right?
Graham over here, dropping clips in the morning, dropping knowledge in the afternoon.
I know. He's not just an accountant.
I haven't thought about that science in a long time, so I want to make sure that's...
It rolled off the tongue well.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure one of my listeners will definitely correct you if you're wrong. For sure.
That's
Delta 11.
That's easy to ignore.
No, hey, man, I get lots of education from my listeners, that's for sure. If you have a comment, or you'd like to say something to me or something about one of my episodes, or you'd like to hear something on the Real Dirt, please drop me a line.
Graham's phone number.
Yeah, Graham's phone number is...
Mike, what do you think about that? I mean, do you think... I just think it's the most sensible way to approach it is you have a net...
I tend to agree, and so being, starting as a hemp farmer in Colorado, it was always total THC. And I thought I discovered, the loophole the first season where it's like, well, are they testing for THC or THCA? And I think that it's challenging. States like Oregon, you got a bunch of breeders with good genetics that are, if you're pollen fucking right now and coming up with new stuff.
Chunking.
Okay, sure. Pollen chunking. Sure.
Plant fuckers.
Yeah. But, it's tricky up there because Oregon's putting out some really great product. They're putting out a ton of biomass. And
highest yields in the country, right?
Highest yields in the country, highest quality in the country, but a big part of that is because they're growing it all hot. It's rare that total THC is anywhere close to 0.3, and most of the guys up there show you test results at 0.7 and say this is legal. But would you come here and pick it up, because they don't want to ship it?
And drive through Idaho.
Yeah, exactly. So that tells you something right there when they say it's legal, but, hey, we don't want to ship it to you. Can you come grab it from us? And we see what's happening when they're shipping it and getting pulled over. It's not good, and it needs to be figured out.
Yeah.
So we happen to be in a bar at the beautiful Silver Tip Lodge here in British Columbia. Both you guys look like your drinks are empty. Can I order you another one?
I got some peanut on there, probably from Oregon.
Here, let me see if I can get my bartender over here.
What do you want?
Bartender, can we have 3 drinks, please? Yes.
Old-fashioned.
We're going to have 2 old fashions, and Graham's going to fill up his glass of wine. I'm sorry, listeners out there who think less of us now because we're drinking alcohol and talking about ganja. But
hey, we just had 4 long ski days.
Dude, we need a little bit, and the ganja's not that great, so I can't
Ganja's not that great. It's not that plentiful at this time. Right. So what are we going to do? Our muscles are hurting. We've been sore. We've been skiing all day.
Yeah, because me and Mike, we brought all the weed.
Yeah, Chip brought all the weed. I threw a few bucks on it, but I got 5 on it,
No, but hey, here's some interesting stuff that's been great about Canada. One is you can fly with 30 grams in the country. So when I cruise into the airport in Vancouver, I'm heading over to the hotel, and I look out the window, and I see Chip outside smoking a joint. So I sheepishly cruise out and say, hey, let me get a little bit of that. And he goes, check out the sign. There's a sign. This is the weed smoking zone. That was mind-blowing. I've never seen that before. Sure enough, there's absolutely a sign. It has a vape and marijuana smoking zone. If you're offended by it and want to smoke tobacco, then there's tobacco only. Right, places in the airport as well.
So they're doing some things right, but
public consumption needs to be allowed.
Yeah, cultivation needs to be stepped up. We're going to be smoking in public. We might as well be proud of what we're smoking.
But smoke better weed.
Yes.
The laws in Canada have been great, man. You can send it through the mail. There's mail order.
Really?
Yeah, you can mail order cannabis here.
Wow.
Right? There's operations all over, and throughout Canada, they've already pioneered greenhouse growing under lights, in large scale. So it's a perfect thing to have happen with cannabis.
But now Canopy, Tilray, Aurora, they're buying them all up.
Yeah, I see the bar is starting to fill up here. We're just going to have to talk over everybody as they come in for ordering their alcoholic beverages. Let's talk about some other stuff happening in hemp right now.
Let's talk about these crazy investments that are going on with these big Canadian companies, since we're here in Canada, coming into the States to, I don't know what the term is, what they're trying to do. They're investing in hemp industry. I don't know if it's...
Well, it's kind of just the nature of what's going on. Is many of them are publicly traded companies or large corporations, and they're trying to like increase the value of their company or corporation, and the way to do that is to buy other people's stuff.
In markets here. I mean, what is the market size of Canada alone, right?
It's 30 million people.
30 million. What's California?
LA is 30
40 million people.
Fifth largest economy in the world, just California?
Yes.
Totally.
Market's here. I think the awareness is here.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you, Carmen.
Here, cheers.
Salute.
Cheers, guys.
Excellent. Carmen makes a mean old-fashioned.
She really does. I asked her what her specialty was the first day after I realized they didn't have olives for martinis. Mm-hmm. Old-fashioned it was.
Right. Yeah, we should have a look. A guest just walked into the Real Dirt podcast. Hollis Carter. Hollis Carter is one of the pioneers of LEfty's hemp company. LEfty's is a smokable hemp brand. We were just talking about smokable hemp. Let's get Hollis's opinion over here after he orders a drink.
Yeah, he just got off the hill. He's got to go over there and put an order in with Carmen.
So how was your day? Let's start it off.
Describe Hollis then. How's Hollis appearing physically in form here? I'm a chicken wing. Sorry.
He's like, is it describable?
I don't know. It's tough to describe. There's a lot of hair.
There's a lot of hair.
Quite a contrast next to me.
How was your day on the hill today?
I would say it was absolutely all time. I would put it in the top 10 days of just enjoying myself in the mountains I've ever had.
I would say today was a world-class experience. When you look at those snowboarding and skiing videos and you see people on tops of mountains bombing down it, we did that shit today.
We did. We did it often. We did it a lot. I was powered by Zoco today.
Oh, yeah. Some CBD energy right there.
Yeah, totally. We've all been taking Zoco Energy, which is a CBD energy formulation. Could you tell us a little bit about it, Mike?
Sure. So Zoco was founded with this really fun group of entrepreneurs, how I know all you gentlemen here. And we've got some really great formulated products. The signature one is an energy capsule. It's got some caffeine, some naturally derived caffeine from tea leaf and some spirulina and some ginseng and a bunch of other goodies in there. But what we're finding is when you hit the ski slopes on some Zoco, you can rip all day.
It kept me on the heli for sure the first day.
Anti-inflammatory, low energy boost. It's great.
So, Hollis, we were speaking about the complexities of smokable hemp, and you have LEfty's hemp cigarettes that's come out this past year. Will be fully launched here in this next year. Tell me where you think the smokable hemp market is having problems and where you think it needs to go.
Problems, I would say. It seems everyone's treating it, trying to make it look like weed when really it's hemp, which is a very cool thing. The fact that it is low THC and everyone's just trying to dress it up and make it look like a giant joint or a cone, sell it for a bunch of money and make it like weed, when really it's just an awesome plant, and some people don't like the THC high, and they seem to just love smoking the LEfty's and having the hemp high, which is a little different. So we've had a lot of people who are quitting smoking cigarettes who now love those. Maybe their girlfriend hates them smoking cigarettes, has been a big one, and they can smoke the LEfty's and not get in trouble.
A lot of people hate smoking cigarettes themselves.
Right.
But it's an
I've had
addiction.
so many people say that.
You like the whole deal?
Right.
That's great.
The bar's getting a little loud as the helicopters are coming in. Everybody's drinking and whistling and having a good day. You know what I really like about smokable hemp, Hollis, is that it's mostly grown with water out in the fields, and so it makes the smoothest smoke. Right? It might not look the same or smell the same, but like it is like really, really a smooth smoke.
First time I ever smoked hemp out of our field, I was amazed at how well it smoked. It looked like, Beasters. It looked like something you bought a long time ago.
But like 90s weed.
Yeah, but it actually tasted great. And I had an experience up in Oregon recently where I gave a guy a hemp cigarette outside of a bar one night. And his first hit, he goes, "Oh, tastes like old fan leaves," and started complaining about it. And I could see his face change over the next couple of hits, and then he goes, "You know what? I think I kind of like this."
And that's an interesting thing that you pointed out, Hollis, is people are dressing it up like weed, or there's confusion that it's weed. But I think when you zoom out, and this is what I try to think about a good bit, is just eventually these categories are going to merge. I think it's inevitable, where you're looking at cannabis, hemp, marijuana, and we're just at the beginning of it here, but eventually I see these products merging. I see companies being able to operate in both spaces. I think it's inevitable. There's going to be regulation around that too, but I think that's an interesting point to look at, is just zooming out in general.
Yeah, definitely regulation on it. The 0.3 thing is definitely going to be a difficult hurdle for people to hop. But I think what needs to happen is there needs to be genetic development for specifically smokable CBD hemp that maybe not be as high in CBD, but really have a really strong terpene content, and that 0.3 or 0.2.
You know what I want is a really beautiful, really terpy 3% CBD bud, because that's going to make a fantastic cigarette.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I think that people have been, prior to all this legalization and change we've had recently, constantly trying to push for the highest THC that they could have.
Or the highest CBD.
Yep. And now the race is going to be all the other profiles with the lowest THC, so that we can have it on the open market, and the people who don't like that high can have all those other benefits.
So I can actually smoke a whole joint and not lose my mind.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need 100 milligrams of CBD in a cigarette. If you can get 10, 20, that would be great. Maybe people would smoke a few more of those instead of cigarettes all day, and I think that would be good for everyone's health.
Oh man, I blend it all the time, like a 1/3 hemp CBD and 2/3 ganja.
Well, so speaking of blending, Hollis, what are you guys doing over there at Lefty's?
So blending with some herbs. So a lot of people have smoking mixes and stuff they've been buying at apothecaries for a long time. So we bought pretty much every smokable herb and had a garage taste test going on. And we've got a couple different herbal blends, even like a spearmint for people who like their menthol cigarettes. An organic spearmint goes really well in there. But in the blending thing, I can tell you that people who don't want to completely kick tobacco and still like it, who like smoking spliffs, this is another amazing thing where I see a lot of people are going to be buying pouches that rather than the pre-rolls and twisting that up, which has actually been my favorite, has been just a little bit of tobacco with like a Norwegian shag, like a good organic tobacco with the hemp is a really good blend.
So I've got another question for Hollis.
I thought about putting some tobacco into that Canadian ganja to make it smoke better.
Probably would have.
So what's your question for Hollis?
You threw me off there when you.
Oh, I changed the subject.
Yeah, you changed the subject, but I don't know. It's gonna have to move on.
Hollis, what were some of the difficulties you found by getting into the hemp business?
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. Is what troubles did you have as you were trying to get these made, supply chain, all that sort of stuff?
Lots of troubles, mostly our own for being massively distracted all the time with other projects. But
projects or heli skiing?
Priorities.
It is a project to go heli skiing.
Right.
To drag you guys all out here.
Hollis mastermind this. This is actually Hollis's birthday party. We're here celebrating his life and life in general. And hey, happy birthday, Hollis!
Thanks, guys. Yeah, buddy. No better way to enjoy it here.
Yeah, another birthday boy just walked in the room too. This is a great birthday celebration.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to interrupt. We had a train of thought.
Yeah. So what issues did you have as you were finding supply, trying to have it manufactured, getting it out of the market?
Yeah, my partner did a lot of the research, so I mainly heard a lot of his complaints about it and different things like that. But both of you have actually been extremely helpful in helping us navigate those waters and hook us up with people to talk to.
Yeah, but they were your problems. So what were they?
These are trade secrets.
Okay. Sorry.
I would say one of the biggest things, though, has been, without getting too much detail, is just manufacturing, figuring out how people can do this at quantity, making the machines reliable, and getting out the door. And the whole market's basically based on the cannabis space and trying to roll big cones, big joints, and it's a different product. And how to actually muddle and create it in a way that will roll nicely. And so treating it, manufacturing it, getting it out the door. The branding and the selling piece, the demand is there. And I think that part is fun and easy. It's been more, how do you get a reliable slip into the mainstream of getting this done at quantity and scale.
Right. And I think that's part of the challenge is that it's a combination of cannabis and these other industries converging, and these cannabis, ganja businesses don't have the ability to work on the global stage.
Yeah, we spend most of the time talking to tobacco companies first, trying to get that happen, but the dunk up machines and stick again.
So coming from lots of arduous work with regulatory with Charlotte's Web, I'm just instantly thinking about how does the FDA respond to smokable hemp, other smokable additives? I'm just always looking for these icebergs, right? And so
Did you say FDA?
Yeah.
Well, does the FDA, touch smokable product really?
Is that alcohol, tobacco, firearms?
No, but I look at like vaping, for instance.
Right.
Is that who controls that? Vaping?
FDA. So drug delivery device is anything where you're ostensibly taking a drug that could have been marketed as a pharmaceutical and using it as smoking, or inhaling or vaporizing, which FDA would consider a medical device, right? And this is where you look at market potential and how does this evolve. And I don't know what the answer is or what it looks like, but immediately in my regulatory operational head, I'm like, how does that look? This is wildly successful. How does FDA start handling this and regulating it?
So question, Graham, you guys are on the forefront of compliance and regulatory and trying to do things by the book over at Charlotte's Web, and you sit on the U.S. Hemp Roundtable. What do you see all these companies doing wrong when they're getting in and just selling stuff over state lines and putting it into vaporizers and all this and just selling it on the internet?
The number one thing, and this is very solid advice, is avoid structure function claims. If you don't know what that means, look it up, give it a Google search. What is a structure function claim? I noticed, in this podcast, I think I've said inflammation. You shouldn't even talk about that unless you're prefacing it with exercise-induced inflammation or minor cases of anxiety, anything that the FDA can consider a disease state.
No claims.
No claims. Just make no claims. This product has enough demand. If you market it smartly, you should be able to sell it without making these claims. And honestly, you shouldn't make a lot of these claims to mislead people. That's an area where I think sometimes the FDA is very well-founded in what they're doing and saying that you shouldn't give people hope that this is going to get rid of your Ebola.
Yeah.
So be sensible about it. You don't need to do this to market it. And I think one thing that I liked about your business plan when I was hearing about it initially, Hollis, was just talking about good times, and wellness. And that's something that the FDA can't touch, but undeniably, we all want good times. Laughter is medicine, and you can talk about that without crossing the FDA.
It's funny. That was actually the reason we decided to do smokable first, is because we have come from the health and supplement world where claims and all the regulatory stuff was huge. Let's not make any claims. Let's make smoking cool again.
Good time.
And there's tons. Yeah, there's tons of studies out there that can back up really cool things. And we're not going to use that in marketing or do it. I'm not even going to mention it right now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's
really
how
do
careful
love
you
it.
have to be. It's like on this podcast right now, I'm thinking, what can I say and what can I say?
So many people discount the good times.
Yeah.
And it has to be for something other than just fun. Can't we do shit for fun anymore, man? Does it have to be medicinal or escapism? Isn't it just fun?
Yeah, can I live while I'm young?
or live every day, bro. Or live every day, man. Oh, yeah.
Canadian stuff ain't very good.
Yeah. Well, we're having a great time here in Canada, and we've been jiving hemp and ganja a little bit, but Canada really was at the forefront of hemp seed and industrial development 20 years ago. And we talked about Tilray buying Manitoba Harvest just recently.
Smart move.
And it is a very smart move, man. That the hemp seeds for food, for human food, for animal food, it really is an incredible product. It's full of amino acids. It's in so many food products you don't even realize, right?
And that acquisition, I think, also does more to move hemp and CBD more into the mainstream food space, so that you're looking at a large brand that has that power there, incorporating CBD, and this is all coming more towards a commoditization and more mainstream CPG direction, which is where we're going, and it's what we're going to see in 2019 and 2020.
Right.
Is big CPG coming into the space, a larger acceptance of this as a food and nutritional supplement, and less stigma. Yeah. Anyone who ever approaches me with an idea that tries to put handcuffs on on hemp as not being just a normal commodity or food product, I'm 100% philosophically against it, because I think that's where it's heading and where it should be.
Well, and we're at this point now where the industry, hemp and CBD, has been a ground-up industry. You know, a lot of new companies in the space building the market, creating the awareness, and now we've got the top-down approach that's entering, which is the big CPG brands, which is the guys that can spend the money.
It's turning into a red ocean.
A red ocean. Tell us more.
What's red?
I mean, blue ocean, red ocean is a common business principle of just where, you know, you have a lot of people working in the same space doing the same thing, and it becomes acquisitions, it becomes mergers. That's how you gain efficiencies. That's how you get operational leverage, is by rolling up companies. Whereas, you know, when we started with Charlottesville about 5 years ago, it was like...
It was a big blue ocean.
Big blue ocean, holy shit. You know, we could be in orange jumpsuits, but there is the risk-reward factor, right? And it's a blue ocean, and it's a lot more exciting, honestly.
And you guys paved the way for that ground-up approach of a new company building massive market share in this emerging industry.
We did. Bluebird did. There was some other people involved with it, but
sure.
It really was that big splash with Sanjay Gupta and on CNN. And then
wait. Which Sanjay Gupta?
Not the other guy.
The one who, after
one on
he
CNN,
took the CBD.
Chief medical
right.
Yeah, the one with that title.
The one that hit a joint at the party and changed his mind. That guy. That guy. Well, you know, a big part of hemp is industrial hemp, and we just kind of spoke on food. We've been talking about CBD. Currently, the only real industry for it is seed production for food and CBD. Let's talk about the future of industrial hemp, right? What is it going to take for industrial hemp to become a mainstream product?
Well, now that we have the Farm Bill, more people are going to want to invest in capital that's going to allow this to happen. There's a company out of Kentucky called Sunstrands. The CEO's name is Trey Riddle. He's a brilliant man.
Pressboard people.
What's that?
They make the pressboard product?
They make all sorts of stuff. He's doing wet chemistry. He's doing all sorts of different material sciences. He's looking... I mean, I know he's in conversations with major corporations that are looking for hemp alternatives in the outdoor industry, clothing industry, but... The potential for bioplastics, for car paneling, for tier 1, tier 2 suppliers of Toyota, for your baby wipes. I mean, there's massive potential here. Now, is what the Farm Bill is going to do is it's going to actually encourage people to invest this capital where they didn't want to invest it before because of the restrictive regulation. So as that starts to evolve, I think we're going to see a ton of opportunity in multiple industries to create more environmentally friendly products. And I'm super excited for that and its potential benefit for the planet and humanity.
Right. One of the things that really has to develop is regional industries, so that if you're making hempcrete, you're not shipping hemp all over the country or thousands of miles. If you're making pressboard, the hemp comes from your neighborhood, because the fact of the matter is it's a really light substance. It's really bulky, right? It's hard to get like a shit ton onto a semi or onto a rail car, right? But the pressboard and the concrete, I think, that's what's going to happen first.
Yeah, I think building materials is going to be a huge category for hemp. And I think that's a realistic one for the U.S. in particular to set their eyes on right now. There's just a lot of room for innovation and infrastructure that could give us an advantage. When you compare it to food or textiles, you know, there's different advantages to each. And, you know, I think we're a little behind when it comes to textiles. I think just in general, that's kind of leaving the U.S. So we got to focus on what we can do with this industrial hemp and actually introduce it.
This is the thing that frustrates me with Hempcrete, because it's a brilliant product. I don't know how much experience you guys have with it.
Oh, yeah, it totally makes concrete light, strong.
Insulative properties, the sound dampening, it's amazing. But the way people are marketing it, and I totally get it, if you're not familiar with this product, it's like you look at it and it looks like a mud thatch hut, and you're like going back in time. Like, that's totally missing it. You need to market this towards the people you're trying to sell it to, which is looking at it as a new technology. Even though we know we're rediscovering hemp in many facets, right? You need to market this, and it needs to look externally like something like Tyvek on a building, where you're marketing this technology as tech, as opposed to just this like reversion into ancient history.
But, you know, the same thing happened with hemp clothing in the 90s. When it first came out, it was this like hard, brittle shit that nobody wanted, right? And now, like, it's as soft and supple as cotton or silk or anything else.
But you have to market it in a way that people understand new tech. It doesn't look like a mud thatch building. It needs.
Well, and you need to market it to the builders and the people and the developers, not just those end users who want to have some sustainable building solution, and then their builder sells it out of them because he's been buying his concrete from George down the street for 20 years, and it's the best concrete. So it's, figure out how to also market it to people who don't care about the hemp sustainable thing. They care that it's a better product. And they can get a margin on it and build good homes with it.
Spot on. And super regional, too. I think when I was in Europe doing a hemp tour, I think they talked about their ideal radius for hempcrete was like 700 kilometers.
Well, concrete's the perfect thing because there's concrete in all the communities. Concrete's a heavy product to ship, right? They bring in the Portland cement. They mix it with local materials because it's always put near a sand mine or gravel mine, and then they push it out from there. So that's what it has to be. It has to be this regional product, right? And similar thing with wood products is the press board people. They're in regions where there's wood product, there's wood waste product, right? And that's where we have to push in for sure. Yeah, man, it's been a great little hemp conversation. I enjoyed chatting with you fellas. I'm wondering if I could maybe get like a hemp prediction for 2019 for you, from each one of you.
Ooh, that's a tough one. It's so hard to predict the future right now in hemp because, we're seeing it on the supply chain. You've got farmers scaling up acreage right now that have never grown hemp. Farmers that had a small successful plot that are scaling it up like crazy. Companies like Canopy and Tilray that are going to enter the markets and want to get into farming. Canopy, I know, is trying to do some massive acreage this year. And it's really hard to know where the market's going to go. And so my prediction is that we're going to hit another massive bottleneck at the end of this year. People aren't going to have plans for getting their plants out of the field, into drying, into storage. And we're going to have this major bottleneck, not even to mention processing. And so hopefully we don't see it, but my prediction is that we're going to see a lot of hemp rot in the field.
Processing is the number one thing that needs to happen. Most people are excited about hemp because they love growing things and they want to grow it. Right, and so processing is the number one thing that probably needs to take place. Tequila!
So the bar is really cranking up here. As the last chopper got back in.
Let's get our couple more predictions here, and then we're gonna
really quick. And this aligns with what Mike said in a different way. But I think you're going to see major adoption from big brick and mortar stores, very large brick and mortar presence from hemp, and it's going to creep even more into the mainstream, which is going to push further. No, not hemp. I'm thinking more on the CBD side. Were you thinking still industrial? Okay. But that plays more into what Mike's saying in terms of we're going to have this kind of curve that goes up and plateaus in terms of becoming a true commodity. We're going to have a really big spike in demand, and I think in terms of drying technology and processing, Mike is spot on in saying that there's going to be a shortage. It's going to be hard. Some people are going to miss their account, like hitting their orders with Target and Walmart, and because of the exact things that you're saying. But my main prediction is we're going to see major adoption from CPG companies and it really slipping more into the mainstream. So.
I love that.
Mr. Carter?
Yes. Very high-end smokable hemp, I think, as we were talking about earlier, that, people are going to start breeding those genetics and things that you've had those amazing tasty buds with all the terps and all the different things with the legal THC, allotment in it so that we can start to play that game too. And then people who were very turned off by the, cannabis ganja world who are going to love this product. And also, I really do think municipalities are going to be the ones who move hemp forward. There'll be a few that see the light, and they'll be the actual people who push it forward.
Or people back adding those terps, just watch out.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
Well, I predict that Hollis, Carter, and LEfty's cigarettes are going to explode and be a national phenomenon. And I know many other people say that there's hemp cigarettes out there, but Hollis truly has a superior product over every product that I had in the industry. I believe that CW, Charlotte's Web, is going to have its biggest year to date and is going to really crush all of their expectations. My other prediction is that HGH Seeds, Mike Leago's side project here, is going to sell millions and millions and millions of CBD seeds to new farmers. Man,
I'm just going to keep getting more and more and more and more excited about hemp, and people are going to keep sending me killer hemp products, and I'm going to keep get to talk to people about this elevated hemp industry that we have. That's my prediction.
Hollis, another name than cigarette.
Yeah, I think we should.
Well, it's actually hemp smokes.
We're just calling them smokes.
Hemp smokes.
It's just like claims. We got to stay away from cigarettes as well. It's a very fragile world of political correctness, and we have to walk the line. You know.
Well, it looks like we've gathered a crowd here. I think this is the perfect time to propose a toast. Here's our tequila shots to cannabis.
Cannabis.
Big heli lines.
Skiing in Canada.
And there we go, folks. Another fine episode of The Real Dirt with Hemp. With The Real Dirt about hemp. This is The Real Dirt with Chip Baker. Please download this episode and other episodes on iTunes, or you can also check us out at therealdirt.com. Pay attention to all the Hempisodes that are coming this spring of 2019. If you have any requests or anything you want to hear about, just let us know. Just remember, stay high.
Thank you for joining this Hempisode of The Real Dirt with Chip Baker. I love hemp. Obviously, you listen to our whole episode here. You feel how much I love hemp. I hope you love hemp too. If you want to know more about hemp, check out our other Hempisodes that are a part of this whole series if you've only heard one. So check those out and you'll learn everything you need to know about hemp in 2019. That's right. Hey, I really appreciate your listening. I know that your time is precious and you choose to spend it with me. Thank you so much. I always am amazed and appreciate all the thanks and gratitude people give me. If you have any comment, please drop us a line at info@therealdirt.com or travis@therealdirt.com or chip@therealdirt.com. If you're interested in being on or have a product that you'd like us to review or something that you want to hear us talk about, I'd love to chat about it. And I get some of my best ideas from my listeners. So thanks for joining me. Please download this episode and others at therealdirt.com. Please also subscribe The Real Dirt Podcast on iTunes. And man, we love those comments. We'd love to hear from you. Comment on our Instagram, our Facebook. Join our Facebook group page, man. That you couldn't have a better resource right there. Our Facebook group. So yeah, hey man, love you guys. Thanks for listening. And I guess you'll hear me next time on The Real Dirt.